Hello, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to more League of Legends news. I hope you guys all enjoyed this brief breakdown, giving you all my opinion on the recent patch 8.23, as well as, of course, our brand new champion going to be Neeko. I'll give you guys my thoughts and opinions. Hopefully going to be a shorter episode, as well as on top of that, for all of you guys who are here for roster changes and trade news out there, many rumors and allegations. This offseason has been pretty crazy so far. Come back Monday, we're going to give you guys a post-weekend recap of all the trades that have happened so far. Instead of giving you one at a time, I want to give you guys all the trades, all the roster changes, all in one concise video. But I hope you guys all enjoy, and also I won't be seeing you until Monday for League of Legends news. If you guys want to stop by tomorrow, though, we are going to do a little special Thanksgiving video for all of you guys who have subbed to the channel, and I might be dressing up for you guys, so if you want to stop by then feel free to. But as always, let's break down 8.23, guys, and let's get right into it. So first off, it's going to be Aatrox. So kind of a debatable balance here. I think definitely in need of a nerf. This would not necessarily be a nerf until late game. So Aatrox's R duration was actually shortened from 12 seconds to 10 seconds, and it really, like I said before, only affects the late game engages and not necessarily really that much in general. So I think necessarily here pretty much untouched by Aatrox. Expecting future nerfs, I think so, but that's just my opinion. On top of that, though, Ezreal sees an interesting almost buff, I would say. The Essence Flux base damage increased by 25 at max rank, and AP scaling increased. It's no longer 0.7 at all ranks, but actually maxes out at 0.9 at level 18. This is definitely a huge buff, but with that comes the True Shot barrage changes, guys. Now being reduced damage to waves, so both your early game push as well as your late game wave clear. We don't see this very often, but of course the cross map ults to clear waves, it won't be near as effective. So I think probably an initial buff, but also then the balance afterwards to his true shot damage or his ult damage. Gonna be interesting to see how this one actually plays out. I don't necessarily think it's gonna be a buff for Ez, especially when you consider that you don't actually max your W for Ez until last, so the main buff is on the ability that you don't buff till late game. So again, probably gonna be a balance there, and I would say maybe a slight buff. Also though, I think Lyssandra's seen the most interesting, and of course you guys know, a brand new passive. Alongside that though, a huge laundry list of changes. It's actually crazy to see how much stuff they can change in one character, but I think definitely some of the most interesting changes we've actually seen in quite some time, and I like what I see so far. Will it be a buff? I think generally. So first of all, guys, going to be a 5% increase in bonus attack speed starting at level 1, and mana regen also now doubles from 0.4 per second to 0.8, so definitely a huge buff right off the bat. The main buff though will actually go past her basic attack and actually to her passive. Her basic attack though did see actually a small improvement, as it actually now hits 10% faster in terms of speed. So basic attack ice shards will now hit 10% faster if, of course, they do land in the first place. But I think, like I said before, the passive receiving the biggest brunt of the buff here, and will they balance it out further? We'll talk about that. So a brand new passive now known as Iceborne Subjugation. So I think people kind of overlook this very shortly. It's when an enemy dies nearby her, not when Lysandra kills an enemy. When any enemy dies nearby her, they become what is now called a frozen thrall. When the enemies are near a frozen thrall, their movement speed is now slowed by 25%, and after 3 seconds, the frozen thralls, or the dead enemies, will shatter and deal AoE magic damage. So it's pretty crazy to see the actual damage. It deals up to 520 damage at level 18, which is a huge buff. But here's where then it breaks down into the balances as well. We actually, unfortunately enough, have it was probably needed though. Her Q now also requires less mana at all ranks, so a slight buff there. The W also costs less mana, but when you're going to see this as well is decreased scaling base damage, which probably negates that. And then also her E has initial speed increase, but still it takes the same amount of time for her E to actually reach the maximum distance. Not a huge change there. And also very lastly, a small reduction in her ult's ability power. So I think overall, I would say a slight buff. Is it going to negate everything though, especially if her passive is not used to maximum ability? Like let's say you only have one enemy dying nearby you get one frozen thrall, as compared to a team fight going well and you get 2 or 3, maybe 4 frozen thralls. Obviously gonna have to see how this actually plays out. I think generally though, a buff here for Lysandra, and by far and away a champ I'm very excited to actually use once these abilities do go live, and I'm excited to see how they actually play out. And also very lastly, Taliyah. We only saw 4 champs touch, which I also enjoy because it makes the patch breakdowns way easier for me to actually give you guys my opinions on this. We see Taliyah with her cooldown for her Q being reduced, as well as slight reduction in mana cost, which is great. You think a buff, but then I think, unfortunately enough, next after that, guys, her multi-hit damage, it now reduces by 50% after each stone shard hit. So unfortunately enough, definitely going to be, I would almost say, negate all of these, and it maybe even hurt Taliyah as well. Unfortunately enough, I think maybe a champ out there seen to be better than she really is, but that might be my own opinion. And then very lastly, for all you shield users, orange shield users, that is actually going to be a general buff here. It no longer heals 20. It's going to be actually 30 and also based off your missing health. So you can actually heal up to 30 health over 10 seconds. It's going to be based off a cap though of 25% of your missing health. It was 20 before, now it is 30. So a general buff there as well, depending upon how you play. If you take constant poke, I think it should be a general buff as well. And very lastly, Dark Harvest has now been nerfed once again. Didn't take too long. Base damage now back to 40. Damage per soul from 8 back to 5. Overall, I think some great balances. There were definitely balances. A lot of the champs who saw huge buffs also saw nerfs otherwise. I think Lissandra, interesting changes. I cannot wait to see how that plays out. I'm very curious though how Talia plays out on top of that, and other champs as well. I don't think Aatrox, I think Aatrox probably the only champ here really not affected by these changes. Overall, I think great updates. 8.23 did bring, and hopefully 8.24 brings some even better things and some bigger changes we can actually discuss on here. But very lastly as well, of course, a quick breakdown for all of you, as well as showing you the abilities of our brand new champion, and that's going to be Neeko, frog woman lady. All right, let's break it down, guys. First of all, initial thoughts, it looks pretty cool. It's always weird how they handle these characters, but I think a much needed change of character. I was not expecting a lizard frog lady. I can definitely say that. So first of all, I think we see this a lot as well with new champs. You guys, it's a trend we've seen again and again and again. This seems like a champ who's going to be very OP and needs some major nerfs, or maybe not major, but definitely we'll talk about which things probably need changes here. First of all, her passive allows you to mimic ally champions. Casting Q or E or taking damage will end the illusion. This is just like Shaco, guys, and we've seen so far for the gameplay, the illusions here just seem to be even more powerful than Shaco though. So on top of her passive though, going into her abilities, her Q called Blooming Burst actually tosses a seed which does AoE damage. If it also kills an enemy or a minion, it does additional surrounding AoE damage. Nothing special there, I didn't think so. Or we get a really special things here are her last few abilities. Her W, Shape Splitter, sends a clone of her current champion form out in any direction, just like Shaco. Her E, Tangle Barbs, acts like a root, so the last enemy hit actually is entangled or rooted the longest, and it's also bonus root duration if she hits more than 2 enemies, at least 2 enemies with this. And also very lastly, I think probably the most OP of her abilities we've seen so far by a landslide is actually going to be her ultimate ability. It's going to be called Pop Blossom, and it looks just like Nunu, but even more powerful, guys. So she does AoE damage, she jumps up and gains a shield, she does massive AoE damage like Nunu, and then also on top of that, gets an AoE stun. So what we've seen from the gameplay so far, it does seem to be very OP. It reminds me just of when we saw Pyke. I mean, and a lot of other champions out there, Pyke just being one of the more recent ones. Again, we don't really know how it's going to play out, so we don't really know exactly, but based off gameplay, which again is the gameplay they set up to make her look powerful in the first place, she looks to be quite strong. We'll see exactly how she does. Just another stealth character out there to kind of, I guess, blanket all the other ones and maybe reduce their pick rates by quite a bit. But also, hope you guys all enjoy. I will see you back here tomorrow. If you guys want to see the Thanksgiving episode where we just thank all of you guys who've been watching these videos, I really do appreciate the comments, guys, the likes, and just getting to know all of you guys. But as always, my name is Jake. I'll get to see you guys Monday if you don't stop by tomorrow, and we'll break down all those roster changes, all those trades going on in the League of Legends scene. As always, I hope you guys all enjoy, and it's a mouthful. Okay, I'll see you guys then. Bye.